almost like every week they add more bloat, ads, half-baked updates on features that already work just fine, and slide in AI crap where it shouldn't be. Not to mention making it harder and harder to have any semblance of privacy while you use the damn thing. I could go on, but I'm sick of it. I just wish there was something other than Windows that you could run on your PC.
In the final months of 2025, Dell's quarterly financial report revealed something shocking. Their consumer PC division had collapsed by 28% compared to the previous year. The company's CFO, Ivan McKill, delivered a blunt assessment. Windows 11's strict hardware demands and widespread customer rejection were crushing sales numbers. Dell wasn't alone. HP watched their consumer PC revenue plummet 31%. Lenovo saw a 24% drop. Every major manufacturer was hemorrhaging sales in the consumer market, and they all identified the same culprit: Microsoft's latest operating system. This wasn't a supply chain crisis. The economy wasn't in freefall. Innovation hadn't stalled. The issue was simpler and more devastating. Picture this. Shoppers enter electronics stores, ready to buy. They check the prices, then discover their 4-year-old machines can't handle Windows 11. Worse, the new systems on display come loaded with software they've grown to despise, so they walk out empty-handed. For decades, PC makers invested everything into the Windows platform. They built their entire business model around it. Now that same platform was destroying their revenue streams, and Microsoft seemed indifferent to the carnage. The restrictive hardware specifications had effectively destroyed the natural upgrade cycle that once drove the entire industry forward.
Windows 11 is finally changing the hardware requirements so older PCs can install it. But there's a catch. There's always a catch. Ever since Windows 11 came out, there's been a hard requirement for TPM 2.0, and this usually equates to older PCs not being able to make the upgrade.
Windows 11 demands TPM 2.0, a trusted platform module, a security chip that only became standard around 2016. Any machine built before that can't officially run the new operating system. Microsoft claims it's about security. Hardware manufacturers see it differently. Forced obsolescence designed to drive new purchases. But there's a problem. People aren't buying. They're holding on to their old machines, sticking with Windows 10, or abandoning the ecosystem entirely. Jason Wheeler handles IT purchasing for a Denver law firm with 400 employees. His company operates 280 Dell workstations bought in 2018. These aren't budget machines. They cost $1,200 each, packed with Intel i7 processors, 16 GB of RAM, and solid-state drives. They perform flawlessly and handle every task the firm requires. But they lack TPM 2.0, which means Windows 11 won't run. With Windows 10 support ending in October 2025, Wheeler faced 3 choices. Drop $336,000 on replacement computers that offer no performance benefit, pay Microsoft $61 annually per machine for extended security patches, or abandon Windows completely. He picked the third option. The firm is transitioning to Linux, deploying Ubuntu to 50 employees as a test run. If it works, everyone switches. Wheeler's reasoning was straightforward. We're not spending $350,000 because Microsoft arbitrarily declared our functioning computers obsolete. These hardware requirements are manufactured. Our systems work perfectly. Microsoft is engineering an upgrade cycle, and we're refusing to play along. This pattern is repeating across countless organizations, small businesses, educational institutions, nonprofits. They own functional hardware that Windows 11 rejects. Rather than replacing entire fleets, they're investigating alternatives. PC manufacturers are watching their enterprise revenue vanish. The retail collapse tells an even grimmer story. Walk into any computer department at major retailers, and you'll see the devastation. Saturdays used to generate consistent traffic. People buying laptops, desktops, accessories. By November 2025, those sections sat empty. Sales associates stood idle while shoppers browsed briefly and left without purchasing anything. Marcus Chen has sold computers at an Atlanta electronics store for 6 years. He described the new normal. A customer enters looking for a laptop with a $600 budget. He displays Windows 11 machines in that price range. They ask if it's superior to their current device. He inquires about their existing setup. They describe a 2019 Dell that runs without issues. He explains that Windows 10 support has ended, and they need to upgrade for security reasons. They ask why their laptop can't run Windows 11. He mentions the TPM 2.0 requirement. Their expression changes. My laptop is only 6 years old and works perfectly. Microsoft says it's obsolete. He confirms. They ask about Chromebooks. He shows them options at $280 that meet all their needs. They buy the Chromebook. Dell loses the sale. Microsoft loses a license. The Windows ecosystem loses a customer permanently. This exact scenario repeats 15 to 20 times every Saturday. Shoppers discover their reliable computers have been deemed worthless through arbitrary specifications. They feel insulted and manipulated, so they purchase Chromebooks, iPads, or nothing at all. Anything except another Windows machine. During the fourth quarter of 2025, Windows laptop sales at major retailers dropped 34%. Chromebook sales surged 67%. This shift is accelerating, and the damage is already catastrophic.
Microsoft is lying to you about Windows 11. Since the release of their newest operating system, the Xbox people have not backed down on their trust me bro requirements for Windows 11. Even though it feels like every few months somebody figures out how to make the whole thing dramatically more lightweight.
Customer reviews paint an even bleaker picture for manufacturers. Browse any Windows 11 laptop on major retail sites, and you'll find furious feedback. Not criticizing the hardware, but the operating system itself. Excellent laptop, horrible operating system. Hardware performs well. Windows 11 is unusable. Would rate 5 stars if it had Windows 10. These reviews devastate product ratings and sink sales, yet manufacturers are powerless to change anything. HP's Pavilion 15, a popular mid-range laptop that consistently earned 4.3-star ratings, plummeted to 3.1 stars throughout 2025. The hardware remained identical. Windows 11 was the only variable that changed. One review accumulated over 2,400 helpful votes. The laptop itself is well constructed and fast, but Windows 11 is a nightmare. Forced updates restart the machine during critical work. Advertisements appear in the Start menu. AI assistant pop-ups interrupt constantly. Cloud storage notifications nag endlessly. I spend more time battling the OS than actually working. Cannot recommend until Microsoft fixes Windows 11 or HP provides a Linux alternative. Dell's XPS 13, a premium ultrabook that maintained 4.7-star ratings for years, dropped to 3.6 stars after shipping with the new operating system. Reviews consistently noted, the hardware is exceptional. Windows 11 destroys the experience. Dell can't control Microsoft's software decisions, yet they absorb every negative review. Their ratings suffer. Sales decline. Meanwhile, Microsoft remains insulated because they don't sell directly to consumers. PC manufacturers shoulder all the consequences. Lenovo attempted something remarkable in its desperation. They included instructions inside the box explaining how to downgrade to Windows 10, about $200 laptop, shipping with removal instructions for its own operating system. That's the severity of the situation. Manufacturers understand that customers despise Windows 11, so they're actively teaching people how to eliminate it. This is completely unprecedented, yet it's not rescuing sales, because customers don't want to invest hours performing downgrades. They expect computers to work properly immediately. Return rates are obliterating profit margins. PC returns exploded throughout 2025. Customers purchase Windows 11 machines, bring them home, spend days fighting mandatory updates, AI interruptions, and required account sign-ins. Then they return them. Retailers absorb restocking fees. Manufacturers absorb losses. Everyone suffers except Microsoft, who already collected payment for the license. Rachel Anderson manages a retail computer store in Boston. She shared her return data, fourth quarter 2024. Before Windows 11 dominated the market, 8% laptop return rate. Fourth quarter 2025, 23% return rate, nearly triple. The reasons remain consistent. Windows 11 is too complicated. Constant interruptions, forced updates during work sessions, cannot disable AI features. These aren't defective products. Microsoft told you that AI-powered computers would revolutionize everything. They marketed Windows 11 AI PCs as mandatory upgrades for anyone serious about productivity and security. The messaging was relentless. Get on board or get left behind. Then, at the Consumer Electronics Show in January 2026, Dell dropped a bombshell that nobody saw coming. Their executives publicly stated what the entire industry was quietly thinking. Nobody actually cares about AI features when buying computers. This wasn't some obscure comment in a financial footnote. Kevin Terwilliger, Dell's product leadership, stood up at the biggest tech event of the year and admitted that AI capabilities confuse potential buyers more than they motivate purchases. Dell isn't a desperate startup looking for attention. They're Microsoft's most important hardware ally, generating 40% of their revenue from PC sales. And they just told everyone that Microsoft's entire strategy might be fundamentally flawed. When Microsoft introduced Copilot Plus PCs in June 2024, they positioned them as a completely new category of computing device. The technical requirement was specific: neural processing units delivering at least 40 trillion operations per second. According to Microsoft's promotional materials, these machines would prepare users for the next era of technology. They promised unprecedented speed and intelligence that traditional computers simply couldn't deliver. The showcase feature was something called Recall. Microsoft designed it as photographic memory built directly into your operating system. The system would continuously capture screenshots of your activity every few seconds, building a comprehensive searchable archive of everything you'd ever done on your computer. You could ask natural language questions like, "What was I researching about travel last week?" And Recall would instantly surface the answer. No more digging through folders or struggling to remember what you named a file. Your machine would have perfect memory of your entire digital existence. Microsoft emphasized that everything happened on your device. No internet required, no cloud uploads, everything protected by encryption and biometric security through Windows Hello. On paper, this sounded like genuine innovation. Microsoft predicted it would fundamentally transform human-computer interaction. But when security experts got their hands on the actual implementation, they uncovered details Microsoft had carefully avoided in their marketing presentations. In May 2024, cybersecurity researcher Kevin Beaumont published detailed analysis of how Recall actually functioned. The feature was capturing screenshots every 5 seconds by default. Not smart selections of important information, but blanket surveillance of everything visible on your display. Encrypted messages from apps like Signal and WhatsApp that users assumed were ephemeral. Login credentials typed into authentication forms. Financial information entered into payment systems. Private medical data viewed through healthcare portals. Absolutely everything was being photographed and saved to your hard drive. These screenshots were stored in a SQLite database file on local storage. When security researchers examined this database, they discovered something Microsoft had neglected to mention. The initial implementation had zero encryption. Kevin Beaumont created a demonstration tool that could pull the entire database in less than 2 minutes. Any piece of malware with standard file system access could harvest months of screenshots. Any person who gained physical possession of your device could browse through everything you'd viewed for the past quarter. Microsoft claimed their sensitive information filter would prevent capture of passwords and payment details. The register conducted independent verification and found systematic failures. The filtering only functioned when sensitive data appeared in formats the system recognized. Credit card numbers without proper labeling? Captured. Password fields that didn't explicitly identify themselves? Captured. Repeated testing demonstrated that sufficient sensitive information bypassed the filter to constitute a major privacy vulnerability. You might think this only matters if someone physically steals your hardware or manages to install malware, but consider how information actually flows in practice. Many companies automatically back up employee computers to network storage. Those backups now contain complete screenshot archives. IT departments with administrative remote access can retrieve these files. Any security exploit that enables remote code execution can extract the database. The information doesn't require intentional exfiltration to become accessible to unauthorized parties. The backlash hit immediately and hard. Privacy organizations described recall as dystopian surveillance. The UK's Data Protection Authority announced formal inquiries into the feature. Security experts noted that recall behaved identically to keylogger malware that users would normally quarantine and remove. The comparison wasn't rhetorical exaggeration. Recall was performing exactly the same functions as malicious spyware, creating exhaustive records of user behavior without meaningful informed consent. Microsoft responded by pushing the launch date from June 2024 to October, then again to December. They converted the feature from opt-out to opt-in. The company implemented encryption for the database secured by Windows Hello biometric authentication. They added filters to prevent captures from private browsing sessions and designated applications. They mandated virtualization-based security enclaves to safeguard the encryption keys. When security researchers evaluated the revised version in late 2024, core vulnerabilities persisted. The encryption could be bypassed using a PIN code if users hadn't configured biometric authentication. That PIN was frequently the same 4 to 6-digit code people had used for years. Kevin Beaumont showed that his non-technical partner could access his recall archive simply by entering his PIN. The elaborate encryption infrastructure reduced to the security of a gym locker combination. Multiple independent researchers found that recall continued capturing sensitive information the filters were designed to block. Gradual accumulation of unfiltered data created significant exposure over time. The updated feature was superior to the unencrypted original, but it remained an extensive surveillance mechanism operating on millions of machines. Think about realistic scenarios. A healthcare professional uses their personal laptop for both patient documentation and everyday tasks. Recall captures clinical notes containing protected health information. The laptop gets stolen during a car break-in. The criminal doesn't need advanced cryptographic skills, just the ability to guess a short PIN or deploy basic malware during an unprotected moment. Months of confidential patient records are suddenly compromised. Or imagine an entrepreneur negotiating a sensitive business merger. Recall archives correspondence, financial projections, and strategic documents. Their managed IT service provider maintains remote access for technical support. An account breach at that provider creates a pathway to the recall database. Merger specifics leak before announcement, destroying millions in deal value. These examples follow a common thread. The danger doesn't stem from recall malfunctioning. The danger stems from recall functioning precisely as engineered, generating a comprehensive historical record that transforms into a catastrophic single point of failure for months of confidential information. Following the privacy controversy, Microsoft implemented modifications. Recall became opt-in, encryption was added, filtering improved. Deployment was restricted to Windows Insider testing channels. But Dell's CES 2026 statement suggests these adjustments failed to resolve the underlying problem. The issue transcended security implementation. The issue was that consumers fundamentally don't want continuous screenshot monitoring on their devices, regardless of security measures. Dell's COO Jeff Clarke characterized an unfulfilled expectation around AI in personal computing. Industry analysts anticipated that AI features would stimulate consumer demand for hardware upgrades. That anticipation proved incorrect. AI marketing seems to be creating confusion among prospective buyers rather than motivating purchases. Windows 11. Adoption is tracking 10 to 12 percentage points behind Windows 10 adoption at comparable lifecycle stages. By November 2025, Windows 11 had captured only 53.7% of the Windows desktop market, while Windows 10 maintained 42.7%, despite exceeding its official support termination date. Millions of users are actively choosing to remain on an unsupported operating system rather than migrate to Windows 11. Dell's tactical response was revealing. Their latest XPS laptops unveiled at CES 2026 include neural processing units. They satisfy Microsoft's Copilot Plus PC technical specifications. They feature the Copilot key on keyboards because Microsoft's licensing terms mandate it. But Dell's promotional messaging deliberately avoids highlighting AI as the central value proposition. Instead, they're focusing on battery performance, construction quality, display specifications, and gaming capabilities. The AI functionality exists but receives minimal emphasis. This marks a total reversal from Dell's 2024 approach. A year prior, the company had embraced AI branding with such intensity that they discontinued their entire legacy product naming structure. XPS, Inspiron, and Latitude were abandoned in favor of Dell, Dell Pro, and Dell Pro Max to spotlight AI integration. That rebrand faced widespread customer criticism for creating confusion with generic naming. At CES 2026, Dell announced the restoration of the XPS brand, essentially acknowledging that their AI-centric rebrand had backfired. For Windows 11 Copilot Plus PC users, you can completely disable recall, navigate to settings, then privacy and security, then recall and snapshots. Deactivate save snapshots to halt new captures. Choose delete snapshots in the same menu to eliminate existing data. For total feature removal, access Windows Search and enter Windows features. Select Turn Windows features on or off. Locate recall and uncheck it. Windows will purge all archived snapshots automatically. In corporate settings, system administrators can disable recall organization-wide using group policy or mobile device management configurations. Beyond recall, you can limit broader data collection in Windows 11. Go to Settings, Privacy and Security, then Diagnostics and Feedback. Modify diagnostic data transmission to required only instead of optional. Audit application permissions for camera, microphone, and location. Revoke permissions for applications that don't require them for essential operation. For users concerned about AI features generally, verify which applications access your typing patterns. Navigate to Settings, Privacy and Security, then Inking and Typing Personalization. Disable this if you don't want Microsoft gathering typing behavior to refine text prediction algorithms. These measures won't eliminate all telemetry, but they substantially reduce the volume of activity data Windows collects. Dell's public admission exposes something Microsoft refuses to acknowledge. The company invested 2 years establishing AI as the primary justification for upgrading to Windows 11 and purchasing new hardware. They restricted premium features to expensive neural processing units. They invented a new product category, promoted as indispensable for contemporary computing. They positioned recall as transformational technology. When consumers actually assessed these AI capabilities, they discovered answers to questions nobody was asking. Recall promised to help users locate previously viewed information, but most people already employ functional organizational systems. AI image generation in Paint delivers impressive demos, but addresses genuine requirements for only a narrow user segment. Local speech processing might offer marginal speed improvements, but existing cloud alternatives perform adequately enough that the difference doesn't warrant hardware replacement. The disconnect between Microsoft's AI narrative and actual consumer priorities enabled Dell to publicly separate themselves from that approach. They understood that persistent AI-first messaging would alienate prospective customers who prioritize dependability, performance, and cost-effectiveness over unused features. This strategic positioning by a major manufacturing partner indicates Microsoft's AI initiative has evolved from asset to liability in consumer markets. Your operating system should function as a tool serving your objectives, Windows 11 increasingly operates as a vehicle for Microsoft's corporate agenda rather than user needs. AI features nobody requested, data harvesting requiring manual deactivation, marketing promising revolutionary advances while tangible benefits remain imperceptible to typical users. Invest 15 minutes reviewing your privacy configuration if you're running Windows 11. Deactivate recall if present. Reduce diagnostic telemetry. Audit application permissions. These aren't comprehensive solutions, but they minimize exposure. Communicate this information to others using Windows 11 who may lack awareness of these considerations. Privacy protection isn't merely individual, it's communal. When a company's dominant hardware collaborator publicly contradicts their strategic foundation, that transcends ordinary business disagreement, that signals something essential has failed in their methodology.
It turns out that shut down in Windows doesn't actually mean shut down. Is this just another example of computer companies not trusting us to operate our own stuff?
Picture this. It's late 2025, and a story explodes across the internet that perfectly captures what millions have been experiencing in silence. Someone tries to shut down their computer at 11 p.m. Simple task, right? Just click a button and walk away. Except Windows has other plans. The screen displays installing updates with a progress bar frozen at 0%. 1 hour passes, 2 hours, 3 hours. It's 2 a.m. now, and the progress bar has barely crawled to 47%. This person has work in the morning, just 4 hours away, but there's no escape. Forcing a shutdown could corrupt everything. Unplugging isn't safe. All they can do is sit there, watching a progress indicator move at a glacial pace, helplessly waiting for their own computer to grant them permission to stop using it. Finally, at 4:30 in the morning, the machine powers down. 5.5 hours to turn off a computer. When this story gets shared online, something remarkable happens. Thousands of people respond with nearly identical experiences. Mine took 4 hours last week. I literally missed my flight because my laptop refused to shut down. Lost an entire client presentation when the system forced a restart during a critical render. And the company responsible for this nightmare? Complete radio silence. This isn't just about inconvenience anymore. People are actively abandoning the platform. They're buying different hardware, installing alternative operating systems, doing whatever it takes to escape a situation where their own computer holds them hostage. Here's what changed. Previous versions of the operating system allowed users to delay updates, not indefinitely, but enough to maintain some semblance of control. You could schedule them. Choose installation times that worked for your schedule. That option has been removed. Now, updates install when the system decides, not when you decide. When you're ready to shut down and click that button, the operating system rewrites your command. What was shut down becomes update and shut down without asking permission. The choice you made simply gets overridden. Your schedule, your deadlines, your needs, none of it matters. The system has determined that right now, at this exact moment, is update time. The process itself feels designed to frustrate. Time estimates are meaningless. The screen says this might take several minutes, which translates to anywhere from 20 minutes to 4 hours. There's no way to know. You can't use the computer. You can't safely power it down. You're stuck, held prisoner by software that's convinced it knows better than you when your machine should be available. Consider this real scenario. A small architectural firm in Chicago runs 8 workstations. Friday evening, 6 p.m. Employees trying to leave for the weekend. Everyone clicks shut down. Simultaneously, all 8 machines begin installing updates. Nobody received warning. Nobody was asked if the timing worked. The decision was made. Without consultation, progress bars inch forward. 7 p.m. Still updating. 7:30. 1 computer finishes, 7 continue. 8 p.m. 4 complete. 4 stuck at random percentages. 1 employee has dinner reservations at 8:30. Can't leave. Can't abandon a machine mid-process. At 8:45, the final computer completes. Every single person missed their Friday evening plans because the operating system decided 6 p.m. on Friday was the perfect update window. The next Monday, the firm owner started researching alternatives. The forced updates consumed 20 employee hours watching progress bars. That's $800 in wasted labor. The decision to switch platforms isn't about finding something better. It's about escaping something that's become unusable. But forced updates during shutdown are only part of the problem. What's even worse are the restarts that happen while you're actively working. At least when shutting down, you initiated the action. Forced restarts occur without warning. While you're in the middle of tasks, the system decides a restart is necessary for updates. A notification appears. If you don't notice within 15 minutes, the restart happens anyway. Everything you're working on closes. Work gets lost, applications crash. And the operating system treats this like it performed a valuable service by keeping your machine secure. A PhD student at UC Berkeley runs computational models that take 8 to 12 hours. She starts one at 9 a.m., attends classes, returns at 5 p.m. to check progress. The computer is at the login screen. Restarted. The model didn't complete. 8 hours of computation lost. She'll have to start over. Checking the update history reveals what happened. Update installed at 2:47 p.m. Computer restarted. She was in class, couldn't see the notification. Her research was interrupted mid-process because the system prioritized an update over her work. This isn't isolated. Online communities have weekly threads dedicated specifically to forced restart, destroyed my work stories, video editors losing hours of rendering, programmers losing compilation processes, 3D artists losing complex simulations, data scientists losing analysis runs, all because the operating system decided updates mattered more than what users were actually doing. One freelance video editor calculated the actual damage. A forced restart killed an overnight render, 14 hours lost. At his billing rate of $85 per hour, that restart cost him nearly $1,200 in lost productivity. He can't bill his client for the operating system destroying his work. He absorbs the loss himself. Within a week, he switched to different software on a different platform. His reasoning was simple. If the operating system is going to cost thousands in lost work, he needs one he actually controls. Some users face something even more nightmarish: infinite update loops. The computer installs updates, restarts, says, configuring updates. Please don't turn off your computer. Reaches 100%, restarts again. Installing updates, 0% complete. The same update, again. Reaches 100%, restarts. Preparing to configure. Restarts. Configuring updates. The cycle continues endlessly. One user in Houston experienced this starting Thursday morning. Turned on his computer for work. The update loop began from 9 a.m. Thursday until 2 p.m. Friday. 29 continuous hours of the computer cycling through updates repeatedly. Same screens. Over and over. He finally forced a shutdown by holding the power button, booted into recovery mode, rolled back the update. The computer worked again, but that same night, the update automatically attempted installation again. The loop restarted. His solution? Disconnected Ethernet, disabled Wi-Fi, blocked update servers at the router level. The only way to stop the loop was preventing the system from accessing updates entirely. Support forums contain hundreds of similar threads, users trapped for days. The official solution? Run troubleshooters, try recovery mode, reinstall completely. No acknowledgement that the update system is fundamentally broken. No actual fix. Just workarounds requiring technical knowledge most people don't possess. Even when shutdown succeeds normally, there's another hidden issue. Fast startup is enabled by default. Sounds beneficial. Makes boots faster. What it actually does is hibernate instead of truly shutting down. It saves system state to disk. Then on next boot, loads that state instead of starting fresh. Technically, the computer never fully powers off unless you disable fast startup in buried power settings. Why does this matter? Because hibernation state can corrupt, causing crashes, performance issues, problems that genuine shutdowns would prevent. And most users have no idea this is happening. They click shutdown, thinking the machine turns off. It doesn't. It hibernates while pretending to shut down. This creates confusion or troubleshooting. Tech support says, try restarting your computer. Users shut down and power back on. The problem persists because shutdown with fast startup isn't actually restarting. They need to specifically choose restart or hold shift while clicking shutdown to bypass fast startup, which requires knowing it exists and finding it in advanced settings most people never access. One tech support worker handles 5 to 10 calls weekly from users saying, I restarted like you said, but it didn't fix anything. He has to explain they need to choose restart specifically, not shutdown, or hold shift while shutting down. Users get understandably frustrated. Why is shutdown different from restart? Why doesn't shutdown actually shut down? There are no satisfying answers because the system made shutdown unnecessarily complicated for speed benefits that don't justify the confusion created. The aggressive update behavior exists because it's designed for corporate IT departments. Enterprise environments want mandatory updates to ensure all machines stay patched. Security takes priority over user convenience. That makes sense in managed corporate networks. It makes zero sense for home users who own their computers and should control them. But the same update philosophy gets applied universally. Home users get treated like corporate employees whose IT department doesn't trust them. You're not the administrator of your own machine. The company is. They decide when updates install, when restarts happen, what settings you're allowed to change. You're a user with restricted permissions on hardware you purchased. Someone buys a computer for their home office, works remotely as an accountant. It's their computer, their desk, their electricity bill, but they can't control when it updates, when it restarts, or prevent updates from disrupting workflow. They're treated like an employee under IT management, not a customer being served. They didn't apply for a job. They're a paying customer. But the operating system doesn't respect that relationship. This fundamental lack of respect is driving people away. It's not really about updates taking too long. It's about control. Whose computer is it? You paid for it. You own the hardware, but the company acts like they own it, controlling what software runs, when it updates, when it shuts down, what data it collects. You're permitted to use it only under their terms. And people are realizing that's unacceptable. Early this year, there was finally an official response addressing complaints. They're exploring options to give users more control over updates. Translation: nothing changes. They've been exploring options for years. The update system gets more aggressive with every version. Words without action are meaningless. So users are taking control themselves, switching to operating systems where shutdown actually means shutdown, where updates happen when you approve them, where forced restarts don't exist. Alternative platforms give users complete control. Updates install only when you authorize them. Nothing installs automatically. Nothing restarts without permission. It's your computer. You control it. Revolutionary concept. Other major operating systems don't force restarts. They prompt for updates, but don't install without permission. Don't restart without confirmation. Those companies respect that users control their computers. That fundamental difference is driving platform switches at increasing rates. The irony is, this problem was created while trying to solve another problem. Too many users never updated previously, leaving machines vulnerable. The solution was removing choice entirely. Force updates on everyone. But the cure is worse than the disease. Yes, forced updates ensure security patches install, but they also make computers unusable during updates, destroy work with forced restarts, break drivers and settings. The security benefit doesn't justify the productivity cost. Better solutions exist. Install updates in the background without requiring restarts. Apply updates during idle time. Never restart without explicit user permission. Never take longer than 5 minutes to shut down. Respect that users need computers to work, not spend hours updating. But that would require prioritizing user experience over corporate IT convenience. Enterprise customers pay the bills. Home users are just data sources. As long as that remains the priority structure, nothing will change. What's really happening here is simple. People are abandoning a platform because it won't let them shut down their own computers. It sounds absurd, but it's reality, and the company responsible refuses to fix it. So users are fixing it themselves by switching platforms permanently.